Hi, thank you all for joining me. This is my very first live that I've ever done, and today we're going to touch on clipper combs and clipper blades. So what is the difference, as well as what are the lengths, what are their uses, and kind of go over a little bit of everything. So I've got all my tools laid out here to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're going to start with blades. Let's start, this is a skip tooth blade, so you can see that not all of the prongs are full length, and compared that to, this is a finishing cut blade. So you can see quite different the styles that are on top here. As I said, it's missing some teeth, and then this one is the finishing blade. So the difference between a finishing blade, and you can see it says, I don't know if it's backwards on the screen for you, size 7F. So anytime you see an F on any blade or an FC, it stands for finishing or finishing cut blade. And then you have the skip tooth blade. So not a whole lot of groomers use the skip tooth blade anymore. It's kind of an older generation kind of thing, but I have used them in the past. So they're really good if you have a matted dog that you need to get through, but you have to use this with extreme caution. It can easily nick a dog. So I would say if you're not experienced in their use, just pass on even owning them altogether. It's not going to do you any favors. The other use that I use this for, and it was taught to me in grooming school actually, was by the people who taught me, and it was to sculpt in hairstyles, and it kind of gives it more of like a thinning shear kind of effect, more fluffy looking. So it's kind of a nice thing for that, but again, extreme caution because it is pretty pointy, as you can kind of tell by the top here. So when you're doing a haircut, most of the time you're going to go with a finishing blade. So those are the flat ones. They come in different sizes. This is a 7F. There's 7F, 5F, 4F, 3F, 3 3/4 F. So they come in a variety of sizes, and that is where that connects to. So the 7 gives you a length. This is 3 millimeters, 4s. I've got a 4 right here, 4FC. Oh, it's got a little hair on it. And this one is 9.5 millimeters. So that gives you different lengths. In terms of lengths, you would get out of a 7, it is 1/8 of an inch long. So that is the basic haircut that you'd want to go for short. Unless they're really matted, then you can go down to a 10. But again, use with caution. Although sometimes, like if you're using a 7 and it's not going through, it is acceptable to go down to a 10. But if you can get through easily with a 7, that works really well. And then we have wide blades here. So let me hold up the other one so you can see the difference. So you can see it's a lot wider. And this is almost, not quite 2 times the length of a regular blade, and these are super handy. I just started using them this year, and I really slept on these. These are great, particularly for big dogs. Obviously, the more surface area, the better. And they come in a variety of sizes. So this is a 30, and this would be for use under a wide blade clip comb. So what you do, I'll demonstrate here. You get your 30 wide blade, you put it on to your clipper, and then, you know, this is harder to do on camera than it seems. You attach it over top. So that gives you a much longer haircut. So you can get clipper combs in the wide blade style, or you can get them in regular style as well. And they come in a slide-on style. So one of the other blades, this one here, this is a 5-in-1 blade. And this blade here is basically, it goes anywhere from the lowest setting is a 9. It goes 9, 10, 15, 30, 40. So it gives you a variety of lengths in one. And you can use this, you can set it to a 30 or a 40 is okay as well, but a shorter length. And you slide, see how that clipper comb slides right over top. And you can use just a nice simple, these are quite lightweight, they're usually cordless, and I've used these quite a bit. As you can tell, my button is very well loved. And then we have a 4-in-1 blade. Same idea, and this one just comes, there's no 9, so it's 10, 15, 30, and 40 for a 4-in-1 blade. So that kind of gives you a good idea. The other thing about blades too is, let me show you, I got the 7. Sorry, I have too much stuff around me. It gets hard to focus, but this is a 7 blade, and this is also a 7 blade. But if you can see, you can't really, it's kind of bumpy. Like there's these lines that go up and down it, as opposed to this one, which is smooth. Now, I have heard, don't hold me to this because I don't know if it's true and I could not find anything on it, but some groomers have said that those lines are actually there to cool it, which I found kind of interesting. I don't know how that would work, so if you do know how that works, but these lines, and I knew as soon as somebody said it, I was like, oh, I do have clipper combs or clipper blades that have those lines on them. Apparently they're to cool it faster, so, because they do get hot, obviously when they're in use, they heat up quite a bit. So having anything to cool it down would be great. So, and speaking of that, actually, on that topic of discussion, cooling, you can see on the backs of these, never mind that this is the skip tooth, that doesn't matter. I'm showing you where it's white here. That is a ceramic blade, whereas this one is a stainless steel blade. So what is the difference between when you're looking at a ceramic blade and a stainless steel blade? Well, the difference is that ceramic blades tend to cool a lot sooner. So these ones will heat up and stay warmer longer, whereas this ceramic is meant to cool quicker. Personally, I don't love the ceramic. It is not my favorite. I do prefer a stainless steel. I'm pretty quick, so that does help. And then I also have multiple blades that I can switch out and use as well for so that they don't get hot so quickly. And if you have a ceramic tile, you can actually cool your blades on that as well. They do make cooling sprays. I don't love them. They're not my favorite. They tend to dull blades, I find, a little bit quicker. So I would try not to use those so much. If you're in a pinch, that's okay. All right, so where were we? We've touched on skip tooth. We've touched on finishing blades, what the difference is between them and skip tooth. And we touched on wide blades, 5-in-1s, 4-in-1s, guard combs. Let's go over those. We did go over the different styles. So there's the snap-on ones for wide, there's the snap-on ones for your regular blades, and then there is the slide-on ones made for the 5-in-1 blades. Okay, so they come in a variety of lengths. So in terms of a haircut, what we're talking about here is they come in different lengths. So they go from shortest, which is about 1/8 of an inch. I don't know if you can read that on there. And they go all the way up. I think my longest one is 1.5 inches for the wide blades. I did not get 1.5 inch one for my regular snap-ons. I do have to use a wide blade comb or blade underneath to get that comb on there. And that determines the length of your haircut. So you go with the shortest, which is the 1/8 of an inch, and then it's 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, 5/8 of an inch. I'm really testing my knowledge here. 3/4 of an inch as well, and then up to 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. So it gives you a lot of variety in terms of what length you can do. Much more than clipper blades. So when you're talking about blades, as I said, they go from about 7 to a 3, so that gives you anywhere from 1/8 of an inch up until about 1/2 an inch. So not as much length when you're going with a blade as opposed to a clipper comb. So if you're looking for a long haircut, you're likely going to have to go with a comb. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. And yeah, so that's really, unless anyone has a question for me, that's about all that I have for blades, different styles, what their uses are, and how to get the most out of them, really. Well, thank you all for sticking around, and I will see you next time in a live. I'm sorry this was so terrible. It's my first time. So yeah, check out more. I have other content on my channel, and I dive into a lot of different things as well. All right, have a great day.